Whether it's a villain proving their might, a huge key event that informs the rest of the movie, or plenty of character deaths, it's a shame that audiences could never experience these moments as they should have. I'm Jess from Whatculture, and here are 10 off-screen movie moments audiences deserved to see.
Film and TV is cool, but you know what else is cool? Protecting your privacy online. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and get up to 76% off a 2-year NordVPN plan, plus 4 months free and up to a $50 Amazon gift card if you sign up today. I'd make that deal. Damn good deal.
Number 10, A Death in the Family, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. With every new iteration of Batman, there are always the same questions that follow, one of which surrounds his sidekick. After the universally panned Batman and Robin in 1997, the boy wonder hasn't really featured on the big screen, but there have been hints. In The Dark Knight Rises, there was a nod in that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's real name was Robin, but there was nothing more than this. There was a much bigger reveal in Dawn of Justice regarding the dynamic involving Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne. This was because there was real confirmation that Batman did work together with Robin at one point. But based on the haunting image of the latter's costume with an obvious nod to the Joker plastered all over it, it didn't end well. It seems then that this Robin was Jason Todd, and that he was brutally killed by the Clown Prince of Crime. This was again all but confirmed in Zack Snyder's Justice League, when the Joker teased Batman about sending a boy wonder to do a man's job. It really feels as though this scene, and this story in general, could have and should have made a better movie. Number 9, Did the Totem Stop Spinning? Inception. Back in 2010, Inception gripped the entire world. It was the perfect combination of Christopher Nolan's style, an intense and highly convoluted plotline, and enough ambiguity that even now people are still debating what it really means. There were several key aspects introduced throughout the movie, but one of the most important was Cobb's totem. This was a little spinning top that he used to differentiate real life from his dreams. Since he'd been doing this particular line of work for so long, they'd almost blended in together. If the totem eventually stopped spinning, it meant he was in the real world, whereas a dream would see the talisman impossibly spin on forever. This was the closing shot of the entire movie, as Cobb was finally reunited with his children. He spun the totem on the table and went to see his kids, but the question was whether this was a dream or reality. As the father reunited with his children off screen, the camera zoomed into the spinning totem to reveal if this was real, but after the slightest of wobbles, the camera cut to black. This was infuriatingly brilliant. There have been theories since and certain observations made about how to tell the difference between the two states, but no real confirmation of whether Cobb truly got back to his children or not. Number 8, The End of the Quarter Quell, The Hunger Games Catching Fire. After escaping the 74th Hunger Games with their lives against all odds, Katniss Everdeen and Peter Millark, along with 22 other previous winners, were thrown back into the relentless fight to the death again. This, however, would spark the revolution that the series was ultimately about. In the arena, the ragtag group devised a plan to bring the entire arena down around them. In a way, this was the exact moment the revolution against Snow in the Capitol began, but audiences didn't really get to see it. The first chess move was Haymitch and Plutarch rescuing Katniss, which was immediately countered by the Capitol taking Peter and Johanna as their prisoners amid the chaos. Instead of this mad scramble, however, the director chose instead to show plenty of slow motion shots of the heroine being airlifted out to safety. Once awake, she attacked Haymitch and was knocked out yet again, only to miss the Capitol's next big move, literally bombing District 12 off the map. Again, fans didn't get to see this. Instead, there was only a quiet conversation between Gale and Katniss, the latter learning of what happened instead of getting to see it for themselves. These two moments could have truly elevated the movie as key scenes, not only in the second installment, but the whole franchise. Number 7, The Death of the Kraken, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Absent from the first movie, Davy Jones brought to the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise arguably its greatest ever villain. The CGI was stunning, Bill Nighy's performance was simply incredible, and of course there was the small fact that he had the Kraken in his arsenal to do his bidding when needed. The beast was a monster out of legend, impossibly big, and based on how easily it tore apart multiple ships and crews in Dead Man's Chest, it appeared to be unkillable. This was where one of Davy Jones's own real weaknesses came into play. The second movie itself was named for the heart of Davy Jones, and whoever possessed it controlled the captain of the Flying Dutchman. When this fell into the hands of yet another villain, Lord Cutler Beckett, he commanded Jones to put the Kraken down, most likely to remove it as a threat should Jones ultimately choose to revolt against him. What a fight that would have been! How on earth could you put down a beast like that, a leviathan so terrible it was responsible for the deaths of untold numbers of sailors over the years? As it turns out, we'll never know, as all the director decided to show us was the humongous carcass laying dead on a beach. Number 6, Spider-Man v Rhino, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. In spite of how Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man limped over the finish line, Andrew Garfield came into a gig that would have been tough for anyone. He was always going to be compared to the Peter Parker before him, and it was always likely he was going to come out second best. Though the franchise has seen a resurgence in popularity after Spider-Man No Way Home, this is more a reflection of Garfield and his version of Peter than anything else. It's unfortunate, but it's fair to say that truly outstanding, really memorable moments in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise are few and far between. This just adds to the frustration that the second movie should have ended in what could have been the best action sequence of the lot. Who wouldn't want to see Spidey take on Rhino? It was teased at the very start of the film, and this was supposed to be the payoff. It would have been perfect. The build-up, Spider-Man's triumphant return to the streets of New York, and something different to fighting the Osborn family again. Ultimately, the movie infuriatingly cut to the credits just before the two collided, wasting not only Paul Giamatti, but the potential for one hell of a fight. Number 5. T-Rex Rampage on the Seas, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. The sight and sound of the Tyrannosaurus Rex on the big screen is still difficult to not get excited by. Even throughout the Jurassic World trilogy, with other ridiculous dinosaurs like the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor being pushed to the front and center, the biggest draw is still the T-Rex. It's as true now as it was back in 1997 with the release of The Lost World, Jurassic Park. There were a lot of flaws with the movie, with the idea of hunting down the world's greatest ever predator and bringing her to San Diego a painfully stupid idea and premise, as well as the fact that arguably the best moment took place off screen. Between leaving the shores of Isla Sorna and arriving at some pace into the harbor of California, both the big T-Rex and the baby were able to break free and destroy every single person on board the ship. Who wouldn't have wanted to see a rampage like this from the most awe-inspiring killing machine in the world? But we didn't. Number 4. The Heist, Reservoir Dogs. Quentin Tarantino is rightly hailed as one of the greatest and most popular filmmakers of his generation, possibly ever, and it's not hard to see why. From the very beginning of his career, with his debut movie Reservoir Dogs, he set himself apart from everyone else in the business. The movie's opening scene would go on to become iconic, as it showed the core group of main characters discussing Madonna and the principle of tipping at length before going on to perform a heist. However, this heist itself is kept well away from screens. The next scene after the opening credits showed Mr. White and Mr. Orange in a blind panic, with the latter bleeding out after the heist went wrong. They're eventually joined by the likes of Mr. Pink, Mr. Blonde, Joe, and Eddie, but the closest audiences ever get to seeing the heist is Mr. Pink running away and Mr. Orange getting shot, both of which are after the fact. Realistically, Tarantino found a way to create his movie in which the heist is the most pivotal scene of all without actually showing it. There's enough information given and alluded to that everything works without it, but wouldn't it have been fantastic to see, even if just for the full extent of Mr. Blonde's brutality and insanity? Number 3. The Westchester Incident, Logan. By 2017, the X-Men timeline was all over the place, but Logan at least seemed to exist far enough in the future that it wasn't affected by the time-traveling exploits of Days of Future Past. This told the story of Logan's final days, far removed from when he could realistically be called a superhero. The desolate future, at least from the eyes of the now outcasted mutants, was vastly different in many ways, not least because Logan had no one else. There was Professor X and Caliban at the start of the movie, but no other X-Men were to be seen throughout the movie. In what was a slight change from the Old Man Logan comic, Professor X's team wasn't around because Charles himself, rather than Logan, killed them. This was alluded to several times throughout the movie, though it was never actually shown. In an Oklahoma City casino, the power of Charles's fragile and failing mind was shown, only alluding to the power that killed the X-Men, and ultimately saw Xavier's brain declared as a weapon of mass destruction. Director James Mangold originally planned to open the movie with the scene, but made the decision not to, as to keep things focused on Logan himself as much as possible. Though this does make sense, as far as jaw-dropping moments go, the Westchester Incident could have been one of Fox's greatest ever in the franchise. Number 2. Casualties of the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. As the Harry Potter franchise went on over the years, it became clearer and clearer that the boy who lived wasn't the only character who would have an effect on the fight against darkness. He may have been the chosen one, but he couldn't have tasted victory without more than a little help. Harry saw a lot of people die either protecting him or fighting alongside him, and while the likes of Dobby, Severus Snape, and of course Albus Dumbledore were given their final moments on screen, others weren't, no matter how important they were. The Weasley family on the whole boasts some of the most universally popular characters in the entire franchise. And yet, when Fred was killed during the Battle of Hogwarts, audiences only found out after the fact. No heroic scene for George's brother, just a footnote on Harry and Co.'s victory. The same could be said for Nymphadora Tonks and Remus Lupin. The latter was unquestionably one of the strongest characters the movies could boast, and the former a popular and powerful witch in her own right. Certainly not deserving of the impact all three of them had on the story and the franchise. Number 1. The Destruction of Xandar, Avengers Infinity War. The third Avengers movie almost wasn't an Avengers movie, as in reality, the main character of the piece was Thanos. The Mad Titan was at the center of the titular war fought against the universe, and fans had been highly anticipating his Infinity Quest since 2012. Everyone knew that the villain would ultimately collect the 6 Infinity Stones and snap his fingers, but the journey is just as important as the destination. How exactly could he wrestle the gems from some of the most powerful beings in the universe? At the start of Infinity War, Thanos had boarded Thor's Asgardian refuge ship and could almost taste the Tesseract, but this wasn't his first stop. By this point, he'd already obtained the Power Stone when he attacked and destroyed the Nova Corps and Xandar a week earlier. Though it is genuinely difficult to find fault with Infinity War, why could we not have seen this? Thanos and his forces overrunning an entire planet would have been one of the most explosive ways to bring the villain to the screen. And even though there was the flashback to his exploits on Zenhuberi, fans do have the right to feel a little robbed on this occasion.